Good morning, everyone. Carl, thank you for that introduction, and also to Eric and Keith for having me. I am thrilled to be here to kick off what I believe will be an extraordinarily important convening. And I am right with you. What a difference a year can make with respect to our progress on this topic here in New York, and certainly globally as well. So it is an exciting and dynamic time, certainly in New York State and at NYSERDA. Some of you might have heard we're celebrating our 50th anniversary, 5 decades as, in my view, thank you. 5 decades as an objective, trusted resource on behalf of all New Yorkers. And really, support of new and advanced technologies like advanced nuclear is in our DNA, and I would say is a continuation of the work we have been doing for 5 decades. So you might not know this, but NYSERDA was actually formed in 1975 in the throes of the energy crisis. And in fact, we were the reconstitution of the state's Atomic and Space Development Authority, and foundationally have served in very important roles with respect to nuclear deployment across our state already. As 3 decades as our nuclear coordinator and central liaison to the Nuclear Regulatory Commission. But in addition, we have the responsibility of planning on behalf of the state. We have a state energy plan that's underway, and I have to say, I very much enjoyed seeing some of you at the hearings. I'm loving the students coming out in particular. So thank you for being here today, and I hope to see you next week on Long Island as well for our next hearing. But we also have the very important role of technology and market innovation and programmatic deployment. So we really see this all the way through, from conception to deployment to execution. And nuclear energy has played a prominent role in our state's energy mix for many decades. As we speak, we see more than 20% of our power generation coming from nuclear energy. And really, when we think about today, we know for a fact that now is the time to further consideration of advanced nuclear technologies to build on that 20% and beyond. We do know we, like many states, have the expectation of load growth. Our state energy plan estimates a 25% increase in electricity consumption between now and 2040. So we need to plan for that. And that is very much one of the reasons why we see ourselves in the position, this very assertive position that was reflected on earlier. We also see our regulator, the Department of Public Service, considering the extension of the zero emission credit program, reflective of the value of our existing assets. But I'm here to talk more about the advanced nuclear energy technologies that are really part of our efforts today. We really see the advancement, as I said, we see load growth coming our way, and why? We see our buildings becoming ever more electrified. We see our transportation systems doing the same. And I think importantly, we see large industrial loads requiring clean, firm delivery. And that is one of the primary reasons that we are expanding on our nuclear strategy as we speak. So we're proceeding with action on advanced nuclear among 3 paths that I wanted to just lay out for you today. The first is careful planning. The second is immediate, no regrets actions. And the third is collaboration. So planning. Certainly Governor Hochul has been clear. How shall we put it? She's fine if we plan, but she also wants us to execute. So we're doing both at the same time, which is a very good thing as far as I'm concerned. First, with the development of New York's first nuclear master plan that is underway in concert with NYSERDA and a number of state agencies, really advancing a comprehensive range of studies, stakeholder outreach, and considerations around what it is we're even talking about here. How can we advance this technology in a responsible, cost-effective, and scaled manner? So that's a multi-year process, but it is one that is underway and is bearing fruit in multiple directions already. We also are considering workforce issues because we know that this is a central part of how we get from here to there. And in fact, Governor Hochul just recently convened an advanced nuclear energy workforce roundtable right here in New York City. Some of you were in the room, but I would say that it brought together thought leaders around this very specific topic. What are our needs and how do we meet those needs? Importantly, next week, NYSERDA is hosting an advanced nuclear summit focusing on economic development, supply chain, and workforce needs. This is being held in Syracuse on September 30th and October 1st. So if you want to come see a member of the NYSERDA staff afterward. We'll be glad to get you on the list to attend that important convening as well. And I also think it's very important to note the criticality of our state energy plan. This is a process that is looking forward at our needs over 15 years, and I want you to know how critical this is from the perspective of setting the direction for our state's energy future. And that future very much involves nuclear energy. And in fact, what I think about when I think about our longer term effort, this is a long-term play. And so I will talk more about what we're doing in the near term, but I want you to know that I consider that to be a down payment on the broader efforts, the broader scale, and the, I'd say, execution of this longer term, more expansive strategy around nuclear energy deployment across our state. And so on the second category, we are proceeding with near-term steps. In fact, later today, you'll hear from the New York Power Authority, who has been tasked to advance, as you heard, at least 1 gigawatt of advanced nuclear technology. And this is a big deal. This would be the first new nuclear power facility constructed in New York in decades, of course. Let's hear more about that later, but congratulations on that announcement for sure. We also have been working already. NYSERDA has partnered with Constellation on an application to the U.S. Department of Energy for the consideration of the siting of a nuclear reactor, an additional nuclear reactor at their 9 Mile Point facility in Oswego County. So we're anxious to really begin that collaboration, both with Constellation and with the federal government in considering that site for more capacity. But from the other perspective, we're working with universities. We've already supported Rensselaer Polytechnic Institute on a very specific federal opportunity around nuclear power operations, education, training on safety, and workforce development programs as well. So we're moving. This is not the typical pace of government, but it is because it meets the moment. It meets the moment of the technology and the long-term need that we see. And I would say, as with any technology, this is not something New York can do alone. And that is why our collaboration with other states is so central to realizing this objective. And in leading, along with other states, a collaborative formed by the National Association of State Energy Officials called the First Movers Initiative. I think it's important, number one, that we are co-leading that initiative. That is a big deal. But secondly, the fact that our partners in that initiative are Tennessee, Indiana, Kentucky, and Wyoming as our co-leads. This is a big deal because A, it is a bipartisan effort, and B, it is reflective of the fact that we have alignment with other states and certainly with the federal government around this need and the opportunity that it represents. But we will only be successful if we work together, and that is my other point. We cannot be installing a one-off project and expecting that to be the be-all and end-all for the state of New York or frankly for the industry. And therefore, one primary objective of this initiative is to do just that, to standardize, to develop an order book, to reach scale, to get from first of a kind to nth of a kind. We are working collaboratively with a number of other states toward that outcome, as well as the administrative and market issues that will be needed to realize that scale. We do have to figure out how to pay for this, how to recognize how generation one will be necessarily different than one many years later, but how to get this industry moving at the pace and scale to meet the moment. So I want you to know it is a big deal when one makes progress of this magnitude in 1 year, but it's reflective of the fact that we know full well that the decisions that we make today are necessary to meet the moment of many, in some cases, 5, 10, 15 years down the road. And that is what we need with these types of investments, is the durability of commitment in order to allow them to come to fruition. And so New York has demonstrated that we can do this. We have a 370+ mile transmission line under construction today, delivering into New York City from Canada. That was a project under development for 10+ years. We have the South Fork Wind Farm, delivering over a 50% capacity factor as we speak, of a commitment made almost 10 years ago. We have 2 offshore wind projects under construction that we have stood behind time and time again. And I would say, as a general matter, this is reflective not only of our commitment and our ability to execute, but also of the fact that we recognize that resource diversity will be the strongest attribute that we can bring forward to realize an affordable, reliable, resilient, and clean grid. And that is very much why I see this as a necessary time to add nuclear to that list. So working together, we're finding ourselves writing the future history of nuclear for ourselves, for our kids, for our colleagues, and for the world. And the work you're doing is very much part of this timeline. So I want to thank you for allowing me to kick off this important convening. We're thrilled to see this industry growing, the interest growing, and foundationally the progress that we can make when we put our heads together in just 1 year. So thank you again.